Hello everyone, thank you for taking the time to tune in to today's presentation. The topic of discussion today is happiness and productivity in the workplace. We are Group 4 and our members consist of Priscilla, Arlene, Chad, Daniel, and Kevin. So let's go ahead and get started here. To start off with a fun fact, using the criteria that an employee in the United States will work approximately 40 hours per week, 52 weeks out of the year, and for about 47 years ranging from age 18 to 65, it's estimated that an employee may work 97,760 hours in their lifetime. That is a significant portion of our life, so it's absolutely crucial that we enjoy what we do. In the business field, there's many questions that never really disappear, but one of the more prominent ones that will last regardless of where we excel as far as technology and improvements is how can we increase productivity? For example, back in the times when Henry Ford was developing the Model A, one of the big innovations was the idea of an assembly line. This rapidly increased productivity and efficiency, but more relevant to today's times, which we're more familiar with, is how do we increase that in a technological world? For example, many employees today, especially in the banking industry, are using what is called artificial intelligence. So what that is a technology that basically uses a computer to resemble the intelligence of a human. This technology drastically reduces costs, however, unfortunately, it's putting many people out of work. Although productivity seems like a topic that can only be influenced by positives, it's actually influenced by negatives just as much, if not more. For example, one of the more prominent factors influencing productivity is what's called turnover. Turnover can essentially be described as the rate at which a new employee is hired, trained, and ultimately ends up leaving a workplace. In many of the industries, particularly retail, this is very, very common. What ends up happening is someone will get a job at, for example, Vans, a tennis shoe outlet, and they'll be trained. 2 weeks in, they're ready to go. 6 months later, they find a different retail store they like to work for more, so they end up leaving. What this did is increase administration expenses, as well as take away time from managers that could have been looking at other issues to help improve the productivity of the company. So the ultimate goal here is in keeping employees happy. For example, Google, being one of the biggest companies known for this, they essentially don't want you to leave their workplace even after hours. They promote happiness through providing various activities, foods, services, and just essentially everything you could possibly think of to make sure you don't want to leave their atmosphere. So this gets into where our research comes into play. And we use a couple forms of research to try and prove our point that happiness did actually increase productivity in the workplace. The first form that we used was text. So we used journals, articles, and textbooks. One of the more prominent texts that we used was actually our textbook, Management, Leading and Competing in a Competitive World by Bateman and Snell. So what this one did is it set the definition of productivity for our group, which guided us throughout the rest of this project. The second item we used was journals. Journals were very useful because we used the school's database looking for scholarly articles as well, and it gave us a diversified range of research not coming from just one area, which proved that happiness actually did increase productivity not just in the US but worldwide. One of the more insightful techniques that we used was surveys. For example, we had a 10-question survey that we sent out to 50 employees, and our goal here was to do a random sample, keeping out as many biases as possible. This allowed us to reach several religions, genders, occupations, and people of different education levels, and the results were actually quite astonishing. For example, about 80% of people stated that they were working at 100% of their productivity level in their work field at the current time that they were interviewed. That's astonishing because most people would think, well, a lot of people don't like going to work. However, it does turn out that 80% of people were productive at the workplace at their optimal level. The most prominent factors affecting their happiness, though, was their workplace, their setting, and their relationships. Getting into the interviews, which was our favorite part, this one provided more insight because we got to sit down and speak with 5 individuals, managers in particular, across various industries. So the advantage that we had using interviews versus the other techniques is there wasn't really room for misinterpretation, as you could clarify as you're sitting face to face, which allowed them to also get answers in real time. So it became really interesting after speaking with the managers is seeing their varying perspectives as far as management is concerned. The managers in the retail industry and the restaurant industry had very similar responses as to how they govern their people. For example, they typically don't keep an eye on their employees throughout the day because they've already been trained. So what that allows them to do is shift their focus towards the customers. When we analyzed the response of the warehouse managers, it was entirely different. They actually keep an eye on their employees 8 hours out of the day, and that's usually because they have X amount of shipments that have to leave the warehouse in a timely fashion. The most interesting question that we got from the warehouse managers was when we asked them, do you feel like it's okay to speak to your employees in a meaning tone? And without a stutter, both of them actually stated that it was mandatory. When we asked the same question to the managers in the retail and restaurant business, they actually said the complete opposite, and they said that they would actually be afraid for customers if they were in the store because they feel like they'd lose the business. So what this allowed us to do is factor in 3 different things that we felt were super significant as far as promoting happiness in the workplace. The 3 factors that we're going to focus on throughout this presentation are incentives, relationships, and the work environment.
Review of literature. Incentives in the workplace and incenting issues. There are different types, such as commissions, bonuses, or incentive levels. Analytical research shows that multiple incentives should improve performances because the employees get to choose their own plan of incentive. Results concluded that employers performed better and it was beneficial. How can evolutionary psychology increase employee health, happiness, and productivity? Sunlight is important, such as vitamin D. Many employers spend their days indoors behind closed doors. This creates mood swings and increases depression. Recent work has shown that fluorescent lighting can increase health and make people feel more happier. Are employers more productive when happy? Yes, they are. Due to job satisfaction, quality of work life, life satisfaction, and positive effect, which means pleasant feelings or emotions. Recent reviews and theorizing have suggested that effect, especially positive effect, will be particularly important to productivity. In 2003, a researcher named Fisher discovered that affect predicted job performance better than job satisfaction. The impact of organizational support. Employees from general beliefs concerning how much the organization values their contribution and cares about their well-being. It was concluded that through organizational support, the employers felt obligated to help attain the organization's goals. How can self-esteem impact performance? For an employer to perform well at work, one must have self-worth and have self-esteem. Self-esteem empowers people to live responsibly. This concluded that when a person is confident and thinks highly of themselves, they perform better in a lot of aspects in their lives, including work. The importance of empowerment in the workplace. Teamwork must be done. In highly competitive marketplaces, the idea toward employee empowerment has become very fundamental to stay competitive, productive, and obtain sustainable competitive advantage over their industry player. Employee empowerment has been a huge factor leading to productivity.
Surveys. For the survey, we gathered 50 California employees residing in either Orange or LA County who were aged 18 and over. We did this using the random sampling technique in order to later generalize our results to the population. The goal was to measure the importance of happiness in the workplace and how much it affects employee productivity. Item 1 read, on a scale of 1 to 100, how happy are you at work? 50 participants averaged a score of 76. For item 2, it stated, I believe employee happiness increases workplace productivity. All participants agreed, with 92% strongly agreeing. For item 3, we asked, which is important to you at work? Managerial praise, incentives, being happy, a fun yet safe environment, or getting along with coworkers. About 41% voted for managerial praise. About 47% voted for incentives. Almost 76% voted for being happy. 69% voted for a fun yet safe environment, and about 82% voted for getting along with coworkers. The fourth item on the survey read incentives, managerial praise, and workplace environment increase productivity. Participants also agreed for this. Managers are leaders that are supposed to function as mentors, which means they have to be supportive of their employees' effort. They must be aware of the respective strengths and weaknesses each team member has so that workers can be tasked with meaningful and positive challenges which are appropriate to their ability levels, value the ideas and contributions made by all ranks of employee, respect others, and recognize what every individual is able to contribute to the team. When employees are praised, valued, or recognized for their work, it makes them feel good about themselves. And when people feel appreciated, they tend to continue to work with the same amount of effort, if not more. Incentives are used as motivators, so employees give 100% effort in their tasks, and when rewarded, it can increase their happiness, which can positively impact productivity. Having a good workplace environment and getting along with their coworkers and or managers can potentially increase employee happiness because they will have less external stress, which will otherwise negatively impact their ability to perform a task. Item 5 asked, do you feel valued at work? 42% said yes, 44% said sometimes, 12% said less often than I should, and 2% said no. For item 6, how frequently do you receive recognition from your own manager? 10% said always, 30% said usually, another 30% said sometimes, 24% said rarely, and 6% said never. Being valued and recognized can make an employee feel happy. These are also factors that drive productivity. How managers treat their employees can foreshadow how good of an employee they will be for that company. Item 7 followed up with item 1 and 2, asking, are you 100% productive at work? 78% said yes, while 22% said no. The ones who were not 100% productive said they were too tired or too overwhelmed, did not get along with their coworkers or managers, thought their manager was too laid back, or felt unhappy and unappreciated. Item 8 asked, do you feel fulfilled at work? Only 10% said a great deal. 34% said a lot, 40% said a moderate amount, 12% said a little, and 4% said none at all. Fulfillment in the workplace is important because it relates to an employee's level of happiness and how that job fits into one's life. If one does not feel fulfilled, they are clearly not happy with the job they hold. Item 9 and 10 were the short answer questions. We asked, if you were to quit your job, what would be the reason? Most of the answers we got were to focus more on college, unfair and low pay for amount of work asked to do, unhappiness and feeling unappreciated, winning the lottery, finding a better suited job with more flexible hours, not getting along with coworkers, unfair environment, and bad management. Item 10 asked, what feedback would you give your manager about the workplace conditions they provide? This includes employee treatment, pay, hours, environment, etc. The answers we got were scheduling people more effectively, treating all employees equally and giving them the recognition and gratitude they deserve, fixing the work environment and making it better, paying more money and giving more hours within an employee's frame of availability, communicating better with their workers, getting to know and understand their employees, finding a way to get employees to interact with their coworkers so that the workplace is full of positive relationships, and making the employees' happiness a priority. The data gathered supported our hypothesis on the connectedness of employee happiness and productivity. Many people knew and agreed that a person's level of happiness affected their work ethic, ability to be more effective and efficient with productivity, and relationships with the manager and other coworkers.
Interviews. The 4 functions of management include planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. In order for a company to be successful, a manager must handle all 4 functions simultaneously. They are responsible for functioning as role models, provide visionary leadership, instilling employees with strong feelings of pride, direction and purpose, effectively communicating visions, encouraging followers to be creative and take risks, promoting independent thinking, actively inviting various perspectives to help solve problems, providing feedback that is positive, constructive, and aids employee development, and functioning as mentors who give individual coaching, empathy, and support to the workforce. Interviews and questions. How can you describe your relationship with the employees? From your point of view, do the employees seem happy while they are working with each other? Do you believe happiness is important in increasing productivity? Do you believe that managers have the right to talk to employees with a demeaning tone when they do something wrong? If you were the CEO or owner of this company, what would you do differently about employment benefits? What does the company do to ensure that employees are being productive? We interviewed a total of 5 managers. Two of them were warehouse managers, 2 were restaurant managers, and 1 was a retail store manager. All 5 managers believe that happiness is important in increasing workplace productivity. Their answers supported our hypothesis that happy employees are more productive because their happiness motivates them to be more effective and efficient in the tasks that they perform. When the managers were asked, what does this company do to ensure that employees are being productive? Both warehouse managers said they have an eye on their employees 8 hours a day from start to finish. This is because in logistics, the warehouse packers need to reach a certain amount in quantity each day to meet the criteria. The store managers were less hostile when it came to employee productivity. The 2 restaurant managers mentioned their main focus was the customers because the servers, bussers, and hosts have already been trained on what to do. However, they do keep an eye on the front of the house employees to make sure that they are working quickly to bust the tables so other customers can sit. The managers also like to see if the food is coming out at an efficient pace. The retail store manager answered questions similar to the 2 restaurant managers. The only difference was that the use of time when business is slow. Instead of having employees help other employees in their tasks, the manager rather have them make phone calls to potential customers to see if they are interested in purchasing their products. Another question we've asked the managers were, do you believe that managers have the right to talk to employees with a mean or demeaning tone of voice when they do something wrong? For this question, both managers from the warehouse stated that it was mandatory to talk to employees like that so they get the point across. This shows that the different types of management techniques vary from company to company. To get a better understanding of their answer, we responded by asking, why can't you tell them nicely so that it doesn't become a hostile environment? Both warehouse managers responded that this would not work because then the employees may make the same mistake twice or act nonchalantly towards what was asked of their. Whereas if there was a strike on anger in the tone of voice, employees would be too afraid to mess up. Both restaurant managers and the retail store managers responded they would never do that because they are worried that customers will not come back to shop again if they see how the employees are treated and made feel inferior by the managers. The responses to one question was surprising. All managers agreed that employees work well with others and get along with their coworkers, or else they would not work there. What the managers failed to see was that sometimes employees put up with the conditions of their work because they need the money or simply find it hard to find a job somewhere else. With all that being said, in conclusion, although there were many differences in the answers that the managers had for certain topics, they all agreed upon that happy employees are the most productive in the workplace. They are all aware that happiness makes employees work more efficiently and effectively. The interviews were meaningful because they gave us insight from a manager's point of view and also supported our hypothesis on the connection between happiness and productivity.
For the summary and conclusion, we come down to the 4 different forms of research, which were the textbook, the articles, the surveys, and the interviews. We found that all the different authors described the many ways of keeping the employees happy. Job security, bonuses, commissions, other incentives, even small things such as more sunlight in the workplace during the workday. Another thing that we found was big was job satisfaction. So the managers need to make sure that their employees feel that their jobs have meaning in the workplace. Another thing we found was good pay is definitely good for the employees, but it's not the main reason that they're happy at work. And wellness during their everyday life is also big to keep them happy in the workplace. In the surveys, there were 10 question surveys covering 4 different categories. 3 questions on the current level of happiness, 2 questions asking about incentives they have received, 3 questions on how employees feel valued, 2 free response questions for specific details and emotions they're feeling. The results of the survey showed that every person agreed that happiness increases production in the workplace. Less than half of the people felt valued at work. 76 of the surveyors felt that they were happy in the workplace, and 92% strongly agreed that happiness is important in the workplace. In the interviews, 5 interviews with 5 questions each, 2 warehouse managers, 2 restaurant managers, and 1 retail store manager. The 2 warehouse managers, they said they kept a close eye on their employees throughout the entire workday to make sure that all the work was being done, and they made sure that whenever they told an employee something to do, it might not have been in a harsh tone, but definitely in a tone where they understand that the job has to be done. The 2 restaurant managers said their main focus was the customer satisfaction, and the retail store manager felt the same. The one common factor through all of the managerial interviews was they said that they believe that happiness does increase workplace productivity, and their employees all work well and got along together. So in conclusion, after all the research done in the text, articles, surveys, and interviews, our group can confidently come to the conclusion that happiness does increase productivity in the workplace.
I feel that there's lack of communication and the other employees are not listening to me, and I feel that we don't all stand in the same place right now, and it's not working out. I feel that we need to find what's more efficient for the company, and we have to find what works out. And also, I feel that could be more support from the manager, from you. I feel that we're not on the same page.
Yeah, I know I haven't been as vocal as I should be communicating and everything, but now that you brought my attention, I'll definitely make it a point to come out and communicate more often with you, and we definitely need to make sure that since you being the lead, the employees under you definitely do their part. So we'll definitely look into that. Thank you for letting me know the plan.
I feel like that, I've been working for this company for approximately, I'd say about two and a half years now, and I feel like, I'm not getting the credit that I deserve. I've been working very hard. I've been doing, what the company needs me to do very, very well. And, I'm not going to say I, but I am going to say I, because I feel like I'm doing the best job that I can do, and I'm doing better than majority of my coworkers. A lot of them are slacking off sometimes, and I have to keep on carrying their slack, and I feel like I'm not getting any credit for it. I'm just doing all the work. And I feel like I should be compensated.
Yeah, man. We don't really have. I haven't been paying much attention to what's been going on, but I'll definitely start to pay more attention. Thanks for letting me know.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
feel like there's a lack of structure. Like, I see certain employees doing whatever they want and others not doing enough. And it's like, come to my attention that I just don't really feel like this job is fulfilling me the way it should be, just because I don't know if I'm gonna get somewhere with it. Like, is there room for improvement or anything else, because it just seems to be all over the place.
So, what you're asking me to do is to make the lines more clear between who is above who and who tells who what to do, and kind of, basically show the level of power.
Yeah, because I feel like the labels are just labels now. Nobody really follows what they're supposed to do.
Okay. I'll definitely look into that. I'll do my best to level out the structure.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mr. Leon. Thank you for having me in here. You know what? I'm just really happy with this company. I'm super happy to be sitting here with you. I feel like over the past 4 years at this company, I feel like you've really incentivized us and given us all basically the necessary ingredients that we need to succeed here. It's really important when someone empowers you, like, so there's some jobs where you go there and you feel like they're taking the control away from you. I don't really feel that at this job. I honestly feel like you're giving me the leeway I need, the wiggle room I need to get the things done that you've assigned to me. Lastly, the communication has just been awesome. You giving me feedback all the time and hearing how I'm doing and what I could fix in a constructive manner has really excelled my performance here, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, man. We noticed you guys' work out there. We noticed you guys do a really good job. We pay attention to those kind of things, and just want to let you have another one of these bonus check for you.
The yearly
Appreciate your
bonus.
work, man. Keep doing good stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. I really appreciate it.